exactly 7 minutes to 7 o'clock that night. And I had my hand on the handle of a large door that opened up to a large auditorium of 1,500 people waiting for me. It was the fourth night of the CHIP program called the Complete Health Improvement Program. The place was Vernon in British Columbia in Canada. The uniqueness of Vernon lies in the fact that many of these people are of Germanic descent. And so I knew, coming from Germany myself, that there's nothing more important to a German person than punctuality. And I knew that if I would be 1 minute late, their evening was ruined. So it was 7 minutes to 7. I would start at 7 o'clock. I was right on time. And then somebody calls my name behind me. And I thought to myself, no. I cannot respond to anybody now because I am going to be too late on the platform to start the program. So I turned my back. That means closed. And then the voice came more intensively. And they said, Dr. Diehl, we drove 6 hours from Creston. We need to see you right now. Creston. 6 hours traveling to him. Creston, we just finished our CHIP program there 6 months ago. These must be some of my graduates. And now I faced a dilemma. I didn't know what to do. I had 1,500 people to worry about in the auditorium, and I had my CHIP graduates from Creston back there who had spent 6 hours driving to see me. I needed to acknowledge them. It was a matter of loyalty to my friends. But then I worried about these 1,500 people. I thought to myself, maybe it's better to let these 2 people be disappointed instead of disappointing 1,500 people. So I didn't feel very comfortable. And then I had this bright idea. I have them once in a while. And I turned to this man, and he said, don't you remember me? There were 400 of them in the CHIP program in Creston. And I couldn't remember Bob and his wife, Teresa. You don't remember us? And I pretended that I did. I said, oh, yes, you're Bob. Yeah, okay. And I said, Bob, you drove 6 hours to tell me the story, what happened to you, right? Right. I said, would you mind to coming in with me? And I give you the mic, and you can tell everybody what you were going to tell me. You know, you have to ask people these kind of questions. You cannot just assign them to speak to a crowd of 1,500 people. I mean, most people rather die than get up in front of a crowd, right? So I said, no problem. I can do it. Wow. This man was 66 years of age. He was a businessman. He was a builder. He was a self-made man. But he had apparently no fear of a crowd. And so I said, wow, I hit it big. I did okay. And so I walk into the auditorium. It was 1 minute to 7. And I said, ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted to welcome you all here to the 4th night of our CHIP program. We're so glad you're all here, and I have a special guest with me today. He's going to share with you what happened to him in Creston, where we just finished 6 months ago our very first CHIP program ever. And then I gave Robert the microphone after introducing him, and that was my first mistake. He took the mic, and then he said, ladies and gentlemen, we drove 6 hours, Teresa and I, to tell you, don't believe everything that this man is telling you. And he's pointing at me. And I wasn't so sure that it was a bright idea to give him that mic. And then he said, this man, pointing at me again, this man told us if we followed his program, of simpler diets, exercise, and so on, that we could reduce our food bill by 35 to 45%. Let me tell you, this man cost us $30,000, and I knew that it wasn't a bright idea to give him that mic. First lesson, never give someone a mic unless you know what they're going to say. Because I had established myself, I think, as a respectable scientist the first 3 sessions. And now this was the 4th session, and I stood there like the emperor without clothes. He had stripped me down. I stood there naked. All my credibility, I thought, apparently had been thrown into doubt, into jeopardy. Just 2 sentences. Don't believe everything this man tells you. And number 2, this man cost us $30,000. I was shocked. And then he tells the people, this is your 4th session, isn't it? This is session number 4 of the CHIP program? Yes. Well, he said, let me tell you what happened to us. We're driving home about 6 months ago after the 4th night meeting. We're driving home, and as we're driving home, my wife says to me, Bob, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. Bob, we're going to make some changes tonight. Oh? And he tells the people I had no idea what she was talking about. Because you have to understand, the way I do the CHIP program, I use the concept of progressive disclosure. You don't tell everything to people all at once because they couldn't handle it. But instead, we have 16, 18 very carefully prepared slide presentations where we take one topic at a time and we help people to understand something about what causes disease, what is atherosclerosis, what is heart disease, what is hypertension. We begin to help people to get a feeling for it, what these diseases are, and we don't tell them anything about what they need to do to change the diseases until the 4th night. So remember, this is their 4th night. So far, I've only talked to them about what heart disease is, how heart disease ties in with certain visual problems, hearing loss problem, memory problems, with kidney disease, and so on. They begin to get a bigger picture of what health and disease is like. This is their 4th night. I'm going to be telling them tonight, when we talk about obesity, what is at the very basis of these common Western killer diseases, the diet. They have not heard anything about it yet. I'm going to be introducing it very gradually. I'll be talking to them later on at another night about the amount of salt in our diet, which is 10 times higher than we probably should have it, or what our body needs. Another night I will talk about sugar, the fact that we take in about 30 to 40 teaspoons of sugar per person per day, and there's no nutritional value to that. I would talk to them about the importance of fiber, that most Canadians only get about 10 to 12 grams of fiber. We probably would be much better off if we had 30 to 40 to 50 grams. Another night, I will be talking about an unusual dis-ease that many people have. It's called constipation, and how you can find a very easy remedy for that, just like this. So you don't have to sit any longer for hours to try to be productive. I have them to understand. This man who has the mic, Bob, tells these people, let me tell you something. We're driving home, and my wife says to me, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I'm going to make some changes. Tonight is the night. We drive home. We drive into the driveway. I get out of the car. My wife gets into the house, and then she says to me, Bob, what about those Marlboros? Bob, you've been smoking 2 and 3 packs a day. Bob, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I don't want to be a widow. We're going to make some changes tonight. And she brings those cartons of Marlboros right into the place where our fireplace is. And then she puts it into the fireplace, and she gives me the matches. I know what I'm supposed to do. And so I light the match, and I kneel in front of the fireplace. And as the smoke comes up, I take it in all I can because I know it's going to be my last time that I'm going to have those cigarettes. And then she brings 2 olive green large garbage bags. And she says, Bob, we're going to fill those this evening. And then he says, and then she takes me downstairs to the basement. We have 2 horizontal freezers there. And she says, Bob, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. We're going to make some changes tonight. And he tells the people, I don't know what she's talking about because Dr. Diehl hasn't said one word yet about anything to do with diet. So she opens up the first freezer, and I look at my favorite sirloin steak. And I look at Teresa. He tells people, I say, I don't understand. Why should we get rid of those? Bob, didn't you hear him say? He said, if it has a face, don't eat it. I never heard that. Yeah, you have selective hearing. You didn't want to hear it. Bob, I'm sick and tired of being. We're going to do it tonight. And he said, I felt she was standing behind me like a sergeant. And my sirloin steak disappeared. And then I looked at the chicken. And I said to her, he doesn't have any face. It used to have one. Come on, Bob. He said, if it has a face or a mother, don't eat it. I never heard him say that. Bob, we're going to make the changes tonight. And so out goes the chicken. And then he said, I looked down and I saw this fish kind of looking up with one eye blinking at me. And I said, Lord, stop him. Because everybody knows that fish is probably one of the better meats to eat, right? And this man is telling these people all these things on the 4th night. You have to introduce this idea gradually. Yeah, there are some problems with fish. But you have to help people to have time to think about it. You cannot just push people into these kind of dogmatic life choices. You have to give people a chance to say, well, yeah, I think I'm ready to make some lifestyle changes. Yeah, maybe we should. How can we best do this? How do we deal with the kids? How do we best do this? This has to be discussed. This has to be a choice that comes from within, and you don't dictate to people, this is wrong and this is right. No, you're a gentle person. We're not jackhammers. We are cotton balls. And we blow the message of loving care in the direction of people. To win them over, it has to come from within. Are you with me? It has to become your decision, not a decision that I make for the people. They only resent me. I said, Lord, help me. He has this microphone. I need to take it away from him, but I don't know how to do it. Because if I do, people all think that he is the underdog and I have something to hide. I can't do it. Lord, stop him somehow. Send an earthquake. And the Lord said, son, relax. This is not California. This is Canada. And then I said, Lord, let a transformer blow so this microphone goes dead. And the Lord said, well, just wait. It's my program, not yours. Then he tells the people, we just about emptied both of these horizontal freezers. What was left were some raspberries and some strawberries and some spinach and some beans. I mean, everything else was apparently meat and sausages and cheese and Well, we filled those 2 garbage bags. And then he tells the people, and then she took me upstairs to the kitchen. And she opened up this upper compartment of the refrigerator, and she said, Bob, here's another bag. Let's empty. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. And so I open up this upper compartment, and there I look at my favorite ice cream, Haagen-Dazs. Oh, no. But I said, oh, no face. I'm safe. And she said, it has a mother, right? It does, doesn't it? It's basically sugar and fat, animal fat. And she stands there, and I have no choice. She's like a sergeant. My ice cream disappears. All kinds of things disappear from the refrigerator, from the freezer, and so on. And the thing is half full, and I thought, well, maybe I'm done now. And then she pulls this bag to the pantry. She goes to the pantry, and there on the shelf, I see Oreos and Pringles and Doritos, and I relax because no face, no mother, I'm okay. Why is she dragging this bag here? And then she says, Bob, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I mean, we've been in the hospital for the last several years, year after year after, with all kinds of problems, but we need to make some changes tonight. Let's do it. And there goes my Oreos, my M&Ms, my potato chips, all the things that I loved. And I said, Lord, stop this, man. I mean, no one is going to come back. And this was Thursday night. No one's going to come back on Monday night. I mean, they all think this is a kookish kind of a thing. I mean, where people are being pushed into some things that they're not ready for. Now, if you have a person that just had a heart attack, maybe you can say, by the way, sir, if you really want to extend your life, you have to really make some changes right away. You cannot temporize. You cannot do it step by step. You've got to make some changes because you are at the edge of tomorrow. But for most people, and then he says, she drags me to our wet bar. I said, Lord, stop him. I mean, everybody knows the little bit of red wine is good for the stomach. It might be good for the heart. At least that's what people think, right? And I'm going to talk about that down the line when people have developed more confidence in that I'm really interested in them and not just be some kind of a person that pontificates what we need to do. It's not about who's right. It's about how can I help people. Are you with me? And now, he talks about his favorite drinks. And Bob said, I'm a businessman. I'm a builder. And when I come home, after a long day, I get into my favorite chair. I have my Marlboros, I have my martinis, and I'm okay. Turn the TV on, I can relax. And now his wife says, Bob, what about these things here? And he tells the people, I told her, I said, doesn't have a mother, doesn't have a face, and this is liquid grains. These are liquid grapes. And that's on the menu, isn't it? And she said, Bob, he said something, if it's refined, don't use it too often. This is refined stuff. These are empty calories. Bob, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. We're going to make some changes now. And there goes the whiskey. There goes his favorite drinks. There goes his wine. I said, Lord, this is the end of my program. I made 2 mistakes. The first mistake was I gave him the mic, right? The second mistake was I didn't tell him 3 minutes. He's waxing eloquently, and he loves all the attention that he gets. I mean, I'm just amazed. And then he tells the people, well, when we were done, I mean, with the freezers, with the refrigerator, with the pantry shelves, with the wet bar, it was 3 o'clock in the morning. And I say, Teresa, what is there left to be eaten for breakfast? And he says, well, it seems we have to go and do some shopping tomorrow morning. Now, when you go home tonight, and I invite you to join us for the whole day, as you're going home tonight, give some thought, just a little experiment. Go home and take a look and see what foods do you have on your shelves? What foods do you have on your refrigerator, in your freezers, that are coming out of the hand of a loving master designer? You know what these foods are? Fruits, vegetables, whole grains, and legumes. Maybe a few nuts, maybe an avocado. Take a look at it. And take note of where are the other foods coming from? Are these processed foods? Are these engineered foods? Are these foods that are made for profit by large corporations? Are these animal products with all their cholesterol, and with all their saturated fat, with a lack of fiber? Take a look at it. Maybe Bob and Teresa can teach us a lesson. They went, he said, the next morning to get to the supermarket and get some whole grain cereals, and they got themselves some milk substitute and some fruits to have a good breakfast, and they got themselves some Ezekiel 4:9 bread, or Silver Hills. It's a good brand too, isn't it? And then he tells the people, for the last 2 years, I've been followed by a shadow. I mean, the shadow followed me everywhere I would go. The shadow was about 7 feet long and 2.5 feet wide, and he was everywhere I would go. And I thought about it. Yeah, my father died at 62. I'm 66 now. My father died at 62, and pretty soon I will be in that box myself. I mean, I was 65 pounds overweight. I had hypertension, high blood pressure problems. I had a problem with my back. I could hardly bend over properly anymore, and I had angina pain. I had heart disease. And basically, I had become a couch potato. I had been forced to retire from my work, which I loved, for the last 1.5 years. And now I was just building up my muscles in my thumb. You know what this is for, right? Surfing the channels. I wouldn't even get up anymore. I would just go through. And then my wife said, well, Bob, but you know, that's just life the way it is this way. I mean, once we were turning 65, she was 65 too, he was 66. Bob, the body begins to degenerate. That's just the way it is. I mean, there's nothing you can do. It's a progressive thing, and we just should be of good courage and good cheer and just enjoy. We got a nice television. We have a nice big screen. Let's enjoy it. And then he told the people, one of the saddest days of my life was just a few years ago, when my physician, Dr. Kettner, and his 2 teenage boys came to my house. They drove up there, and they had a trailer with firewood. I mean, it wasn't cut yet, and it wasn't split yet, and so they set up these sawhorses, and they put the lumber there, they put the firewood there, and they began to saw it into proper size, and then they split it, and they stacked it. It was the most devastating day of my life, because I began to understand that I could no longer take care of myself. I had surrendered my independence of being a person that took care of my family. I had to rely on other people to provide the firewood and fit it for use for the winter. But, he said, we had our first heart screen. We have a special screening when people come into the CHIP program, and we measure their blood pressure, their pulse rate. We give them a questionnaire. We take some small sample of blood, and we check their cholesterol and their blood sugar, and their triglycerides, and so on. And he said, when we got our blood tests back after the first week in the program, we were devastated. Yes, I was 66 pounds over. That was correct. Yes, I had angina pain. Yes, my cholesterol was way up there. My wife's triglycerides were way up out of line. She had diabetes. She was very, very depressed, had been for some time. She suffered from depression, and she didn't know how to get out of this dark black box. She was 225 pounds, and she was only 5 feet 1 tall. So she was a, what would you call this, Two-ton Annie. So, and he told the people, he said, when we got our screens back, I mean, we were devastated, and we knew that we had to do something about it. And it was at that time, he said, it was that fourth night, remember? When we went home, she said, Bob, I'm sick and tired of being sick, and we're going to do something about this. And at the end of the 4-week program, they had the very, very best results of anybody of those 400 people, because they had started in earnest, going all the way to the ideal program after 4 days, while the others began to make the changes gradually, right? As they saw fit. So they were excited when they got their second screen, and they got the results back, and they were over the moon. I mean, they were just excited. And then they said, all these people have been walking. We haven't done any walking. I mean, these people start walking 10 minutes, and then 15 minutes, and 20 minutes, and 40 minutes, and 100 minutes. Some do, some more. And they aim for 10,000 steps a day. They have special pedometers, so they know how many steps they're putting together every day. But Bob, we haven't done anything because of your back. Maybe you should start now. But just think, even without walking, without the exercise program, we had the best result of anybody there, which again points out the pivotal importance, the primary importance of a simple diet. And so they began to walk. And Bob said after 4 months of walking same place, seeing the same people in the morning, out in the Rocky Mountains and the foothills, he said, I kind of got tired of it. I felt it was a boring thing. And I called my son in Santa Monica. He's sort of a semi-professional cyclist. And I said, son, can a 66-year-old man that has never ridden a bike, can a 66-year-old man learn how to ride a bike? And my son said, Dad, are you talking about yourself? Yeah, I am. Yeah. I want to try it. Yes, you can do it, Dad. But you have to get yourself the best bike, a titanium bike. Get the best, Dad. Don't save any money. You got the money. Do it right. And then get these altimeters and 21 gears. Dad, you can do it. And then get your special gloves without fingers. And be sure, Dad, you have hairy legs. Get those leotards, because it reduces the wind resistance. Dad, you have to do it right. So he and his wife began to plan to go to the U.S. side of the border. They drove there, and so they found a special bike shop. They had made arrangements. And when he saw the prices, he had a sticker shock. I mean, he thought a bike would cost $200. He had no idea. But he heard his son's voice in his ear, get that titanium bike, 21 gears, altimeter, do it right, Dad. He did everything. Get the gloves without the fingers, and Dad, get those leotards. So he said, I went over to the special area where they were selling these leotards, and Teresa saw me going there, and she said, what are you doing there? I said, I'm going to get those leotards. Leotards? I mean, if you're going to drive with those leotards in our small little town, no, you're going to ride at night. Well, he put his foot down, and he bought these psychedelic leotards. On the way home, she turns to him and she says, Bob, do you realize you have just spent $2,000 for yourself? What about me? Why, you want a titanium bike too, and leotards? She said, no, I want a bike. No, not a bike. I want a piano. And he thinks, oh my God, she's 65 years of age. She's never played the piano before. Why would she want to have a piano? This is ridiculous. But he's a very, very wise man. Instead of arguing, he begins to negotiate. He said, okay, you want a piano? Yes. Does it have to be a grand piano? No, just a studio, an upright piano. Oh, okay, that's good. Do you want to have does it have to be a new one, or can it be a used one? No, she said, a used one is fine. Oh, that's good. And then she said, they probably cost $1,500 or something like this. We need to find them when I get back home. But Bob, I want to put at least $500 aside for piano lessons. Again, he's wise. He said, you really want to take piano lessons? Wow, that's really great. Do something new. Get those neurons greased. Stay with it. Learn something new every day as we get older. And so they buy the piano. $1,500, $500 for lessons, $2,000. And I'm beginning to compute. Okay, so he said, I cost him how much money? $30,000. So he has already spent $2,000 for the bike, right? Which is good. And $2,000 for this piano and lessons. That's $4,000. What about the other $26,000? Was there a lawsuit or something? What happened? I was concerned. And so he tells these people, he said, it was only about a couple of weeks ago when I feel my wife's elbow in my rib cage. I wake up, I check my watch. It is 7 o'clock in the morning, and Teresa, being depressed and being in a cold winter season in British Columbia, she usually pulls her covers over, and she usually gets up at the crack of noon. Teresa, this is 7 o'clock in the morning. What's going on? She said, Bob, I've been doing some thinking. Oh, that's good. And what are you thinking? Bob, we are respectable people. We have money in the bank. Look, you drive this old jalopy of a car. I mean, every day you drive it out to the mailbox, 200 feet away. He said, I used to. Have you noticed? I'm no longer driving it. I'm going there. I'm feeling stronger. I'm feeling good. I no longer have the angina. I'm really a winner. So what are you going to do with this old jalopy of a car? Why don't we buy a new car? And he is now a little bit shocked. He said, look, I've been trying for several years now to get a new car, and every time when I bring up the subject, you sabotage it. Instead, you always wanted to keep that old jalopy. And she says, Bob, do men ever understand women? What is it? And she says, Bob, haven't you noticed over the last 2.5 years, I have never been in the village. I've never been in the town. Don't you understand? I always sent you out once a week. I gave you a list of things to buy. You would do all the shopping for me. Didn't you realize I was getting larger and larger and larger, and I didn't want to be seen by anybody in the village? I was becoming a closeted kind of a person, self-conscious of my weight. Didn't you get it? And when you wanted to go out and we were going to plan to visit someone in this old jalopy, I would always, we had plans in the morning, but when we would usually want to go out at 4 or 5 o'clock, remember, I would always say, Bob, I don't know about this old car. I mean, I don't know if it's going to make it home. And, I think it's too much risk. We better stay home. Didn't you get it? I've been doing this for 2.5 years, having this excuse. Bob, no clue. But Bob, no, this is now 5 months since we finished Chip. Bob, I've lost over 50 pounds. Bob, I'm feeling better about myself. Bob, we need to visit our friends. We haven't seen them for 2.5 years. Bob, we need to get involved in life again. Bob, we need to have a new car. They bought a new car for $26,000. An amazing discovery for Bob to understand the pain of obesity as it afflicts particularly women. In the meantime, Bob has spoken now for 1 hour and 20 minutes. My time is shot. I mean, this is the most important lecture of the whole series. This is the tipping point. This is what I help people to understand how we have shifted from a slow food to fast food, how we have gone from whole food to broken up food. And this is a very important time to help people to make the shift in their thinking. And this man is taking my time. 2 mistakes. I gave him the mic, and I didn't tell him, you have 3 to 5 minutes. My fault. And I began to think about, I better call my wife Lily and tell her that I'll probably be coming home on Tuesday, because this is a 4 or 5 week program. Nobody's going to be here on Monday. I ruined it through him. You have to do this progressively, step by step by step, to help people, to give them time to make wise decisions. So you have to ready them in their minds. And this man just, like a tank. It's over. So I gave Lily a call that night, and I said, I'll probably come home and see the kids on Tuesday. So don't be surprised. Well, how come? Well, I made 2 mistakes. I gave him the mic, and I didn't tell him it was 3 to 5 minutes. Oh. And I said, my budding career as a speaker is over. I made 2 mistakes. They'll never come back. So Monday comes. I'm kind of somewhat restless. I'm packing my bags. I have my computer still in my car, and I think to myself, well, maybe I should go there one more time and just, see the place one more time. I had, on that Thursday already, gone to the X and shaken hand to everybody because I knew this would be the last time that I would see them. 1,500 people, and I had blown it. Are you with me? Are you with me? Monday night comes. It's 5 minutes to 7. And I arrive at that community hall. And the parking lot is packed full. I said, what's going on? Oh, yes. The chip program is gone now, and the wine and a cheese party is going to have their big meeting there. And nobody's going to be there from chip. No. So, but I'm kind of curious. It's 2 minutes to 7. I open the door, and who do you think I see there? My chippers. They're all there, and the place is packed full, 1,500 people plus. And I think to myself, what's going on? And I run to the car, and I get my computer, and I said, I better get ready for this lecture. What I was going to do last Thursday, I have to do today, and pack in lecture number 5 as well into there. My goodness, I have a big job before me. I'm coming back just about a minute after 7 o'clock, and I welcome the people. I said, welcome. I'm just so happy to see all of you. That was a very genuine comment, because I didn't expect them to be there, right? I thought the program was over. And they said, yes. And I said, welcome, and welcome to your friends that you brought along. We're just so happy to see all of you. And the people said, where is Bob? They didn't want me. They fell in love with Bob, because Bob was straightforward. He told them straight what it is. He didn't do all the educational thing that I do, right? Progressive disclosure and all these things. He just told them that's what you need to do. And if you do it, guess what happens? You become a new person. What a humbling experience. We think we're so important until Bob comes along and says, just do it. We have over 65,000 graduates in many parts of the world. It's the greatest joy that I've had in my life to see people turning their lives around by making some simple lifestyle changes, how they eat, how they use fork and knife properly, how they turn fork and knife around as weapons of mass destruction, that turn them into instruments of healing. We'll talk about that this afternoon at 2 o'clock. Bob, 2 years later, arrives on Parliament Hill in Ottawa. The bells are chiming 2 o'clock, and there's a lone rider that travels up the hill, followed by the Ottawa Cycling Club. And he arrives up there after 60 days on the road. He had traveled from Creston in British Columbia on the western side, all the way to the east coast, to Ottawa. In 60 days, he had become a friend of many people that watched him night after night on the television as he cycled from town to town to town. He had given out a special magazine called Signs of the Times, 10,000 copies. He told me, he said, Hans, I remember one time I was crossing some railroad tracks, and the train was coming, and I dashed over there, and the train was coming, and the people were waving at me. They all knew this must be Bob Anderson, the 68-year-old man, the man that couldn't walk to his mailbox. He had to take an old jalopy to get there to pick up his mail, and now he's traveling some 3,000 kilometers across Canada. And when he arrived on Parliament Hill, there was not only the Minister of Health and the Minister of Aging, and there was also a choir there. A choir was there, and they sang, "Oh, when the saints come cycling in." 60 days. And whenever they asked him, when he came into a city across Canada, they asked him, well, what's the secret? Well, he said, I learned 4 things in the CHIP program. Number 1, I learned eat foods as grown, simple foods, simply prepared, not the refined foods, not the animal products. Eat foods as grown, simple foods. Foods that come out of the hand of the master designer. Number 2, he said, I learned to burn holes into the soles of my shoes and not the tires of my car. Exercise every day. I did. And he said, number 3, I learned avoid harmful substances like alcohol and cigarettes and too much caffeine and all these kind of things. And I did this. I become a waterholic. I drink 8 to 10 glasses a day. And it's a wonderful thing, he said. Lubricates everything. Everything goes well. Easy. You catching on? Regularity? Oh, come on. Oh, never mind. And then he said, number 4, I learned to develop an attitude of gratitude because God didn't waste time to make a nobody. I was made for success, to achieve, to get out there and do something and do an inspiration to other people. And now the people in Canada know who I am and what I do. And then they ask him, what were some of the challenges of the trip? 60 days. He said, number 1, crossing the prairies. The wind always was blowing from the wrong direction. Number 2, Trans-Canada Highway number 1. Those big trucks, they just roared by there, and I found myself many times in the gutter. And I picked myself up wondering if this iron horse would still ride. Number 3, he said, one of the hard things for me was when I arrived in Ontario at the end of September, first snowfall. These bicycle tires, very slippery, bad combination, ice and rubber, very bad. And he said, but somehow I got through it. And he said, challenge number 4 was, what was hard on me was this part right here. I had a very special saddle that was packed with gel, but still, this was hard. And then somebody asked him, when you picked yourself up from the gutter, after being tossed there by these big semis all too often, when you felt the Charlie horses in the morning when you woke up, what helped you not to give up and to give in? Well, he said, for one thing, my wife was with me, following me in the car. I had no choice. And he had a big smile on his face when he said that. What happened to our slides? Okay. There he is. The next one. That's Bob, the senior cyclist, hits the road at 68. And let me give you one more picture of a lovely couple. That's Teresa. Bob, I'm sick and tired, being sick and tired. Bob, I don't want to be a widow. And then he answered the question, what helped you to get up on that bike? What helped you to get out of bed the next day? Do it again and again and again. And he said, it was a special little box. A box that Dr. Kettner, my doctor, my physician, gave me at the starting line in Creston, and he had 60 people there. The doctor was also a lay minister. And they all had come to wish me farewell and good luck and come back. And then Dr. Kettner said, Bob, there'll be moments when you need some encouragement. We want to give you this little box here. It contains 60 love messages, 60 love letters from my church members here. Bob, we'll be praying for you. We'll be rooting for you. Just remember, when you get discouraged, we are standing behind you in Creston. He said, that's what saved the day for me many times. It's not the theology sometimes, or the arguments of being right or wrong, but it's the loving care that expressed itself in 60 love notes. Are you with me? A year later, he called me up and said, Hans, remember the darkest day of my life? Yeah. He said, right now, I'm working again. I'm trying to build my doctor's new house. And it was only a few months later that he called me up again. He said, Hans, do you know this next Saturday, I'm going to be baptized? Because these people, with those love messages, that loving care towards me on that long trip there through Canada, it softened my heart, it broke my heart, and I really want to give my heart to Jesus. That was a very weak amen. That still is a very weak amen. Folks, this was a turning point in the life of Bob and Teresa. From Chip to him. Are you with me? Bob finished the house of his physician at one of the lakes there near Creston. He was so happy. He was the supervisor, he was the superintendent, directing the two boys, the two teenagers now, that had helped him 2 years earlier in taking care of the wood. Remember? Which was his darkest day? No, it was becoming his one of his happiest days. Bob passed away 4 years ago. His widow called me, and she said, Hans, before Bob passed away, he said, be sure you call Hans. Tell him, Chip gave me 20 more years. I saw myself in that box years ago, just like my father. Didn't work out this way. 20 extra years. And of these 20 years, 18 years were good years, productive years, healthy years. Please call Hans. Tell him I'll see him in the morning. Shall we pray? Our loving Father in heaven, we thank you for the life of Bob and Teresa and the inspiration that they're bringing to us this morning here in London. We thank you for the love of these people, these Christian people who expressed their concern and fondness and good wishes to Bob by writing these 60 love notes, which really broke down this man that didn't know anything about God or Jesus. Help us to understand that you are not only the life saver, but you're also the life giver. And we thank you in Jesus' name. Amen.